Hey, and a very warm welcome to the Into the LightWeb podcast with me, your hostess, Joanna Hunter, metaphysical teacher, spiritual life and business coach, published author, and the high priestess of the LightWeb, a spiritual technology that will change your life. This is the place to be to talk everything under the LightWeb, from consciousness, relationships, to money, to spiritual business, and everything in between. Hi, it's Joanna Hunter here from joannahunter.com, and I am here with an Into the LightWeb podcast episode with the lovely Danielle Demoss is joining us for this series. Hi, Danielle, come and say hello and tell people where it is that you are in the world.
I live in Sacramento, California. I grew up in Seattle, but I've been in Sacramento probably for 6 years now.
Amazing. So we have been on quite the journey together. Tell people a little bit about that journey and how it's unfolded for you. How did you first find out about me?
I first found out about you right about 2 years ago. I was struggling with, I'd been in like a San Francisco airport and was just overwhelmed with all these feelings. I was happy, I was sad, I burst into tears, couldn't tell you why. So I was looking for answers and I wasn't quite sure what was happening to me. What I was beginning to think that I was crazy, but all these different emotional feelings I was going through and no real reason behind them. And you just popped up on Facebook on a thread and I was just intuitively led, I need to click on this to see what was more about it. And being more in your world, I learned that I was an empath and that this is normal and there's just tools that I need to learn to keep those feelings in check and not absorb everyone else's feelings. So that really started my spiritual journey.
Amazing. I know that the empath training that we do had a profound effect on you. That really was like starting to kind of get a handle on what was going on. And as you were talking about there, you were talking about lots of different emotions and things like that. And literally, when you're an empath, for those that are listening and wondering maybe what is an empath and maybe not clear on what an empath is, it's literally like you have a super receiver. So not only do you receive your own emotional signals from the universe, but you also begin to receive everybody else's too. So sometimes you're wondering who's living in your body because there's so many like different conflicting emotions and stuff. And as Danielle said, there like airports, hospitals, shopping malls, these can be all nightmare concerts. These can all be very nightmare places for an empath. So tell us a little bit about doing that empath training and starting to gain control of your gift, basically.
That was super profound for me because I'd never even heard of grounding before. And so to take up the practice now of grounding every morning and doing your protection, whether it's the column of white golden light or a bubble. Sometimes I use several bubbles of protection if I'm going out more into like an airport, the hospital, like you're saying. So those are such keys to controlling what's coming into your field so you can live more of a normal life. So because at that point I was worried before that of like what's going on, how am I going to deal with this? But your program was a godsend. And it's really reasonable, and it's become the cornerstone of in my daily practice of this is what I need to do in the morning before I go out into the world. So.
I love it. I mean, that's a big part of like daily practices and things like that. So what kind of other things have changed for you over the course of like kind of basically spending time in my world? Because I know that there's a lot of new daily practices and things for you in your life. Things have really shifted.
Well, the main thing, it's funny that I kind of entered your world just shortly before COVID. So I ended up in this perfect storm of all these opportunities to grow spiritually were falling into my lap. And at first I was really worried about having to move because of COVID. The lady that owned my house in California had gotten a phenomenal offer on her house. Financially, it was like, look, I'm out of here. You need to move. There's nothing to rent in Sacramento. So I ended up having to go stay with family in Southern Oregon, like 5 hours away. I was able to keep my job and work from home. I was staying with my father and my sister. And it gave me the opportunity to delve into all of the classes that you offer, starting with Unity, where you're learning yourself and so many of those pillars of service and all the different pillars that are involved in Unity, so that you can really incorporate them, and it makes a lot of sense into who you are. And then self-love and self-care was a big, huge thing for me. Learning to put myself first. I was the consummate people pleaser, and I'd always had put everyone else first, and there was nothing left for myself at the end of the day. But I had always felt guilty if I wasn't taking care of other people. I have a special needs child as well, so everyone else came first. So it was a really big journey for me to learn to flip that. I think a big pivotal point for me too was your Get Selfish book, because it lays it out so beautifully that you need to put yourself first, or nothing is ever going to start manifesting for you. So,
and things, you're always going to be in that energy deficit of it's never enough, right? Unless we learn to fill up our own vessel first. I love that. So how does a people pleaser go from being that ultimate people pleaser, putting everybody first? Because I know so many people listening to this is going to be like, give me the secrets of how do we get rid of the people pleaser, right? Because it's such a big energy. I know for me, I call myself a recovering people pleaser. I had a very, very virulent strain of people pleaser. And it was really hard to let go of. And one of the things that there's lots of places I want to go in this conversation with this, but what I found with my people pleaser was that my people pleaser was developed out of a need for survival. It was like a tool for survival. Like if I kept everyone around me happy, I kind of got to survive. Was that similar for you as well?
It was similar. I was adopted, and I didn't know my birth family growing up, but I grew up in a household of, my parents wanted to present this beaver cleaver family that we were perfect, and we don't talk about problems, we don't talk about feelings, we don't even talk about feelings in the house. So as an empathic child, which I didn't know that I was, but I would cry at like a TV, and my dad's like, what is wrong with you? And I had to learn to stuff my emotions, and we had to put on that happy face. And then I wanted to make everyone happy because I wanted the house to be happy. But it did become a matter of necessity, because it just made your house flow. When you're pleasing everyone else in the house, then the vibe in the house, it flows much better. So
yeah, I think so many of us, it's all very well saying, how to get rid of the people pleaser and all the rest of it, but I think the first step in really healing that pattern for ourselves is to acknowledge that our people pleasers often helped us to survive. Like really helped us to survive in tough situations, like that situation of being an empathic child in a family that doesn't want to show emotion. Like that is a tough gig for anyone. That is what I call training day for spirit. Like they really do make it hardcore and rough, but and the tool that we use most often, I find, is this people pleaser. I know for me, it was trying to keep everybody happy.
Yep.
I grew up with a very volatile father. So if everybody was kind of happy, hopefully we didn't have any violent outbursts, and that was my tool for survival, was people pleasing, right. Seeking approval, seeking to be doing it right, which I think is so much. So when you start on this journey of letting go of the people pleaser, obviously, Danielle, there's a lot of patterns that need to be dissolved, a lot of bad behavior, and also as well, a kind of retraining of your family as well, of the people right. around you. That's what I've found as well, So tell us a little bit about that journey of starting you read my book, Get Selfish. You start to realize actually it's so necessary to put myself first.
Right.
It isn't sustainable to keep people pleasing, keep giving and giving and giving and giving. Because I think another pattern with the people pleaser is overgiving, right? Like right. Constantly overgiving, so that you're always running on empty. You're always tired. you're always feeling like, I used to feel this feeling of feeling very hard done by. I don't know if you ever felt that as well. It's like feeling like you were
Sometimes.
always getting the short end of the stick. That's how I always felt.
Yeah. But then what I learned, obviously, is you're going to keep getting the short end of the stick if that's the mindset you're presenting. A huge tool for me was your shadow web class, because it identified all the different archetypes, and you could relate even subtly, and like, no, I'm not really that. Well, no, there's some things you catch yourself and you're actually part of that subtle, that may not be your primary archetype, but there's some archetypes that I fit dead on with, that I had to learn to change my stories. So once I started learning to change my stories, but the shadow web class goes into all those different archetypes. And like I said, you'll see where you are, and all of the ones, no, I'm not that. Yeah, you'll start to catch yourself in subtle ones, the sort of subtle stories that you're telling yourself. So you have to go through and reframe all of your stories. But if I look back over the last 2 years, I wouldn't not have been able to manifest the apartment, the 3-bedroom beautiful apartment I have, the car that I have, if I had not changed all the different mindsets and put myself first, and started giving from a cup that was more full. Then there's times I'm sure I will lean myself down and I'm still kind of the people pleaser, and I have to stop and catch myself and get myself into the right direction. But
that's really important, though, Danielle, to acknowledge that change isn't instantaneous. We don't switch a habitual way of being and patterning like overnight. Like, it's so good that you're even able to see that you can catch yourself, right? Because even I'm like halfway down a road thinking, wait a minute, I'm people pleasing here, or wait a minute, this is a pattern of energy I've chosen to give up. And and then I have to backtrack a little bit and be like, okay, I gotta let that go. I've got to let that go. But having the tools to do that, I think, is massive, and not being hard on yourself when you go down a route that you're trying to give up.
Right. And I think I've kind of hit a healing journey this year. There's some things that I chose not to deal with, and so universe was bringing me agents of the universe, and I was still ignoring them. So now I've dealt with a lot of other things and put all these other things on a back burner, where now I've kind of been forced, where agent of the universe has now come up in my healing journey this year. Now I've had to kind of switch gears and deal with those things. So it's funny how you can start dealing with a lot of things, but there's still things universe is trying to tell you. And if you're still ignoring those, they're going to come up too. So.
Yeah, but it's having the tools to navigate all of that, which I think is like, that's the best bit. In the archetypes of that you mentioned in the shadow web, I mean, the basic archetype out of all of the archetypes is Poor Little Me. And my favorite Poor Little Me story was Poor Little Me, it's all on me, I have to do it all myself. It ran practically on a loop in my head. It was literally my favorite flavor of that shadow web archetype. It was my shadow. I was constantly tapping into that shadow energy through that archetype of Poor Little Me, because I felt so hard done by. I felt like it was all on me. I had to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. I know so many people relate to this, and I know that you really resonated with this, and I know that Absolutely. It really resonated for you, because you've got your special needs son, you're working mama, you've got family, you've got elderly parents, things like that. Like, you've got all the things, right? And it's so easy to fall into that trap of telling that story, how it's all on you, how there's no respite, there's no break, it's relentless. Before you know it, you feel quite crappy about your life. You feel everything's quite heavy, everything's like pushing the boulder up the hill. Tell us about making the changes to those internal stories, reframing them, and what that journey's been like for you. Because I know you probably have journaled a ton, a forest worth of journaling. I know I have.
I started to journal. Journaling was tough for me in the beginning. I just couldn't get that until one day you said, make it like a list. And then that changed it for me, where I'm able to journal more. But some of it I would just verbally speak out loud in the beginning before I start to get to the journaling point of writing everything down. Some of it was learning to trust my intuition and what was coming through. But a big piece of that had to do with the gratitude. Okay, your poor little me story. This is what you're hard done by. you know, I've got a special needs child, the father's MIA, whatever, all my stories. But at the end of the day, balance that with what's your gratitude, switch the gears, switch the energy. This is what I'm grateful for. And a lot of my gratitude in the beginning was verbal, and I wasn't writing it down quite so much. Now I've learned to write it down and then review it in the morning. But the gratitude is huge to change the mindset and get your energy back to source versus void. So, and especially when you're in one of those, poor little me, like switching it, it comes up, even if we're recovering people pleaser or whatever, little stuff comes up, then and you could be in this, like when you're still struggling with some things too, it's always going to come up. We're always going to be a work in progress, but we have to switch. We can switch that energy in an instant and look at the gratitude portion of it to switch that over.
I love that. And you've become an expert on that. And as a result, tell us a little bit about manifesting your apartment, because that was a big, big thing, you know, because
oh my gosh.
I remember having a conversation with you and you were like, there's no apartments in Sacramento and there's nothing, you know, and
oh my gosh,
being able to transform that and literally changing the story on that first and foremost, and then manifesting an amazing place.
I was worried that I was going to get fired because technically my job, my wage was based out of the state of California. So their HR was like, you need to find a place and you need to find it now. And there was still a rent moratorium in California where there just was no places to rent at this time. There, everything was full. People weren't leaving. People weren't paying the rent. So I was very worried, but I had to learn to have faith in source that this was a journey that I was taking. And I think just the culmination of all your classes that particular year, I had surplus of money because I was staying with my parents and only paying, you know, just a little bit to stay there. So it gave me all this opportunity to take, I think, every class that you had. So I had to pull all my tools together, and this is a journey. There's a reason for this. And when the perfect, I think you even said that to me, Danielle, the perfect apartment or perfect house is going to pop up. It's if you have to believe, you have to trust, you have to throw that on the universe of positive things and gratitude for everything else, that this is going to manifest. And I think I had to switch my mindset and get into the moment of every morning. The intention was, I'm going to find the perfect place. I'm going to find the perfect place for me. And I still did get a little worried when a couple came up and they fell through. And then this next one came up and I'm like, it's a 3-bedroom. And I'm like, how am I going to afford a 3-bedroom? But I'd also been trying to work on my abundance, and another financial source had come through right around that time too. So I made 3 times the rent to be able to afford this 3-bedroom apartment. And it's in a nicer area, in the same area that I needed, which was funny because I needed it to manifest in this particular school district for my son to continue to go to the school that he had been going to. And it all fell into place. Like last August, like miraculously, but I had been doing my intention work, my gratitude work. Every time my mind would flip that I can't do this. Nope. I've got all my tools. Joanna says that if I keep on it, you know, the spirit and source is going to bring me where I need to be, and everything is divine timing. And lo and behold, it happened literally 2 weeks before they were ready to fire me, that this apartment came through and I moved back home and my son got to go to the school that he needed to go to. We're not necessarily hurting for money. There's, you know, a surplus every month. I'm not in a deficit every month. I was able to help a friend of mine come stay in my house in that 3rd bedroom to rebuild his life. So everything works out.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I mean, what a story. And, you know, and just an absolute perfect example of the power of positive thought, you know, and the power of changing our stories, the power of self-belief. Because I think, you know, when I first speaking to you about an apartment, you were very disheartened. You were obviously very scared because your job is like, we're going to have to let you go. So you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be homeless and jobless. Oh my God, like that's big pressure. But then also, you know, on top of that, you've got, on top of that, you've got this belief of, I don't think there's anything out there. Right. And that needed to be changed. Like, I don't think there's anything out there. And the thing is, we are really creators of our own reality. And when we actually start shifting those gears and saying, well, you know what could be out there, or just being at least open to the idea that something is out there, it starts to shift, it starts to change. And it's so powerful and potent. So I love that that you were able to kind of grasp hold of that and make that shift and that change. I don't think I heard about your car manifestation journey. What happened there?
Oh my gosh, that was funny. I had a car and I liked my car, but it was over 10 years old, so it was just starting to show wear and tear. But I was in a position where I didn't necessarily have to get rid of it, but I really should, because it was starting to cost more than it was worth. And I don't have the greatest of credit since my divorce. I've never really rebuilt it, and I have some other stuff like a student loan that just looks like I owe 90,000 because it changed lenders so many times that it's all still on there for each lender. But anyway, so when you're trying to get a car loan and it looks like you have too much in debt, no one was really giving me the opportunity to purchase a vehicle, even though I could make the payments. So it actually just kind of, I was willing to take a bargain basement car. But when I really don't like this, I really don't want this. And my people pleaser would have nope, let's just take it. Let's just accept it. It's a new car, be grateful. Nope, this doesn't work for me. Nope, this is not what I want. And I gave it back said, nope, this doesn't work. And they said, well, the only other thing that we have is this car. And it was like a 2018 Ford Fusion, but it was perfect. It was that burnt purple color that is my favorite color for a car. It had all the bells and whistles. And I'm not quite sure how all the financing worked out, but I even got the maintenance package, because if the computer chip goes out, it's $8,000. And if you bought the maintenance package or whatever, it was only going to be $500. So this car is perfect. It was everything that I wanted. It was a little bit over the payment price that I wanted, but this other money that I had manifested, abundance showed up, and it's a regular stream of money. So the $50 extra payment was nothing. And so the perfect car fell in just before my apartment fell in. But I had also been doing daily intentions,
cool.
daily affirmations after my gratitude. This is my intention for the day. I'm going to manifest the perfect home for my son and I in California, in the Natoma School District. I'm going to manifest a car that's right for me. I didn't even get elaborate. I didn't even speak to the universe at what it was, but it was absolutely
just
perfect.
A car that's right for me. I love that, because sometimes we have an idea of what's right for us, but that's necessarily not the truth, right? Because it's based on our limited perception of what is right for us. When we let the universe, what I call the wiggle room for the universe to work its magic, just get me a car that's right for me, it can put an option that wasn't even on your radar into your field, which is amazing. So I love it. I mean, absolutely, wear that crown, manifesting queen, beautiful manifestations and stuff. So that isn't all that you've been on your journey, because you have done some of my certifications as well. To kind of get yourself up and running as a spiritual coach and be able to help other people to take this journey that you've literally been on and absolutely been smashing. And tell us a little bit about that, of diving into those certifications, because you've got a bit of a funny story with that. A psychic many years ago.
That's funny.
Said,
well, originally a little over 5 years ago now, I'd had one of my very best friends had passed away, and she was only 40 and had an aneurysm, and she died in her sleep. And I was in a grocery store in Las Vegas, because that's where I lived at the time. And I guess it's been 6 years ago now. But anyway, this psychic medium stops me, and I'm not quite sure where I feel with metaphysics and woo-woo at that point, because I don't know much about it. I'm thinking woo-woo like hippies from the 60s type woo-woo. And she stops me and she says, I have to talk to you. She says, I don't know if you believe in mediums, but your friend is driving me crazy and I need to give you a message. And I'm like, what? And she says, do you have a friend? And she started to explain things about this friend and about me that no one would have known but her and I at all, period. And so she's blowing a horn, drinking a bottle of wine, and yep, that's her. And the whole manifestation of giving me a message from my friend, and I'm just almost in tears in this grocery store. And then it's like, wow, glad I got that off my chest. She was really bugging me. And then I start to walk away and she goes, I have to say something else. You're an energy healer, right? And I'm like, what's an energy healer? And she says, you're an energy healer. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I thought she was on crack. I had no idea what an energy healer was whatsoever. But once I stepped into your world to learn about the empath thing, all I ever wanted to do was learn everything about energy. How does it work? And lo and behold, now I have 2 energy healer certifications in 2 different modalities. And I'm also certified in Akashic Records readings, which is just totally, if you would ask me that 6 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, I'd have thought people were on crack. So yeah.
I love that. I love that. So there you are, a little bit muggly in a supermarket, complete stranger medium comes up, gives you this incredible message from your friend, then drops the bomb. Oh, by the way, you're going to be an energy healer. You're like, what? And here you are, an energy healer and pretty phenomenal healer and Akashic record reader. You know, that empath ability really comes to the forefront when it comes to energy healing and things like that. Tell us a little bit about taking the journey of the certifications, because other than doing the courses on personal development and stuff, right? Like this is a little bit of a different ballgame. Now we're talking about working with other people. We're talking about helping them instead, whereas the personal development courses are really about helping you and helping you with your thinking and your thoughts and stuff like that. And that's a perfect foundation for learning to help others. But tell us a little bit about jumping in there. Were you ever nervous about taking one of those courses, or was it like, no, this is what I want?
I was never nervous, but I was drawn to them like a horse to water. It was like, I need this. It's like this vibration, and like sometimes I get like an energy ball in my chest. Like there's desire. There's not just desire. I need this. This is the path I'm supposed to take. But then I would also balance and worry that would balance out. I would worry like, okay, am I going to be good at this? Am I going to be intuitive enough to do this? But what's ironic is, as a child, that's all I ever wanted to do was help people. When I was going to high school and I wanted to do all these different professions, they were a police officer, a nurse, all these things I wanted to help other people. But my parents are like, none of those pay anything. Well, maybe the nurse, but the other ones, nobody pays anything to do that. You want to go into this. So I'd get pushed into other things. So being the people pleaser, I just put it all back in the back burner. But now I'm presented with an opportunity of different proportions in the spiritual world to be able to help people and to do this. And I know this is my life's work. This is my calling. But if you'd asked me 5 years ago, no, I wouldn't have known anything about this. But I mean, I would literally get like an energy ball in my chest, like, ooh, I need to take this. So I didn't even know what Akashic Records was like 2 weeks before I took that class, but I just got this energy ball. I need to take this. So now I got to go investigate what is Akashic Records. And then I'd actually had an Akashic Records reading, but it was from someone that was not associated with your world. And they would just tell me it was not interactive. What I enjoyed about your program is it's interactive, and they come away with more of an experience than someone just telling you this is what's in your Akashic Records. So
that's a big difference, isn't it? It's a big difference. Have an experience the way that we teach Akashic Records, and then somebody just kind of talking at you, telling you what you were up to. And there's no like real connection and visceral feeling. Whereas opposed to, we take you on a shamanic journey and we take you into the records. We take our clients there. They have this profound experience where they come out and feel like, holy moly, like I've actually had an experience. I could feel the emotions. If they're visual, they would be able to see what, that past life and stuff before them. As we take them through this very deep, relaxing state, and we take them into the Akashic Records. So do you love the way that you're working? Having experienced both, what would you say? No competition, really.
There is no competition. The interactive way is the way to go. People come out with a more profound experience and they remember it more. But even for people like, well, I'm not visual. Like I took my sister through, she is not visual. She has now started to become a little more visual and she sees things more. But I was able to at least, she knows what she can feel and what she can hear in those, but she wasn't seeing anything originally. And we went into 3 separate lives. And the third life, she actually started seeing fuzzy visuals. So
amazing. So really raising her vibration and really raising her consciousness, which is a big part of the work of my world, really, is raising that vibration, raising that consciousness for everyone, so that everybody can have these beautiful, profound spiritual experiences. Right. I love that. So tell us a little bit about going through the Akashic certification, how did you feel that program was for you?
I thought it was pretty profound. In the beginning, like I said, I was worried that I wasn't as intuitive as other people in your class. Other people, the other students, there's some of them that have their own business already, or some of them that didn't have their own business, but they were more psychic, they were more, intuitive, they were more visual than I was. And I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to intuitively read people. But what's really funny is I have a friend that's a holistic practitioner, and one of his best friends is a psychic medium, but she wanted me to take her through the Akashic Records. So I did a session with her, and she said it was actually really profound that I dropped into, my speech started slowing, and she knows that I was all within spirit and everything resonated. And we worked through some of her stuff. And actually, she told my friend that how phenomenal I was and that she would recommend me to anyone. But because that was very intuitive for me too. I just speak what comes through, and she was pretty impressed, which I then was validated more of I can do this.
You can do this. Of course you can. And what's so beautiful about the way that we teach you as well is that we teach you to co-create the session with spirit. So we're not like, you're not having to hold the whole thing. You're literally just the channel. You're letting them guide you. You're letting them come through and making that connection for yourself. So not only are the sessions tremendously healing and validating for our clients, but they're tremendously healing for us as well. I find that the energy that comes through in these sessions, like, it's just lovely, isn't it? I mean, I would do sessions like that all day, every day.
Yeah, one of my sessions was pretty profound. It was during the class when I was getting certification, and one of my classmates, I was grasping at stuff to practice because I'd practiced with a lot of people at that point, but sometimes I get anxious before I go on long car trips, and I get this like fear visual, like I'm in a wreck in my car. And I don't know why, because once I'm actually on the road, I'm fine. But just before that, and she had taken me through, and then all of a sudden I get into this book, and normally I'm seeing things, I'm hearing things, I feel things, and all of a sudden I feel them and I hear things, but I don't see a thing. It's pitch black. And she's asking me, questions of visual, and I'm like, there's nothing. It turns out in that life, probably the one just prior to what I am now, I had actually been in an accident with my husband, rolled the car, and I was blind.
Oh my God.
And
oh, wow. I'm getting goosebumps. Like,
and that's why I was blind. And but the person that was my classmate was giving me the visual and everything, and it matched what I was hearing, what I was feeling. So it was incredibly profound for me. But after that session, she did a violet flame healing, and I came out. Now I don't have that fear of,
you don't have that fear when you get in the car. Amazing. Amazing. It is so profound. I mean, like, that's amazing. And also as well, I mean, like, how many times do we jump in the car, right? Like, so to have that anxiety, that's a daily thing almost, right? Of like, and then now not to have that anxiety, like, it's amazing. It's like when you work with the Akashic Records, or perhaps heal somebody of a phobia, for instance, of like snakes or spiders or something like that, and people get really anxious with that, and it's and it is a thing that affects your daily life, but it affects your daily life in such a small, subtle way that sometimes we don't think, maybe I could heal that, or maybe I could, because we'll say to ourselves, oh, I'm just being ridiculous. And then, as you said, when you're in the car and driving, you're fine. But it was that initial feeling. But to know that you're rid of that,
absolutely,
how much nicer is it to like get in the car now, and and you've got a sweet ride now to get into as well. So even nicer,
Absolutely.
So beautiful. Tell us a little bit about becoming a LightBringer as well, because you did our LightBringer certification too.
The LightBringer, I was so excited that I couldn't wait for that to come, because I knew yours was going to be different. I do have certification in another energy healing modality. So it's a sacred geometry energy healing called Geo Love. So I'd had some experience with that, but yours is very different, and I'm able to like incorporate, like if I'm doing a LightBringer session, and kind of bring in whatever tools, whether it's Akashic or any other modality. LightBringer was profound for me because you're tracking the energy. I can go do a sacred geometry energy healing, but we've never tracked the source of where that's coming from. So in LightBringer, it was very unique, and I think completes the whole process, because you're actually talking to someone and tracking the energy in their body of where is it trapped. asking these questions, figure out what stage the energy is, whether they're just getting agents of the universe saying, hey, hello, notice me, or if it's like, okay, are we at the stage now that it's actually in your body? Let's track it, let's where it's at, and we can do a shape and color healing or a spoken word, whatever comes into intuitively
Clearing,
they
yeah, to
need
clear it.
to clear that. And sometimes it takes a couple different things. And I thought it was really profound because you're covering it from all bases. I can do the energy healing if I incorporate my sacred geometry energy healing as well, but then we're still learning to find the source and clear the source so that it doesn't.
I think that's the biggest thing for anybody that is listening to this and wondering what we're talking about. We're tracking the energy, is that quite often when we come with issues and problems that are laying on the surface and we say, well, you know, I can't make more money, for instance. Like, that's a classic, right? People are wanting to make more money and they're like, I can't seem to make more money. I seem to have a ceiling. And they might come to you with that problem. That most energy healing models will just deal with that problem on the surface. What we do is we track the energy to the root of where did that actually come from? You know, and usually the funny thing is, usually it's got nothing to do with a surface problem. It's got something to do with something much, much deeper. So it might manifest as a lack of money on the surface, but you go right the way through the energy, you track it, and you might find that it's a form of self-punishment, you know, and it's completely. And so I think that's one of the things that's really cool with that model. And the nice thing is that when we actually get to the portion of clearing the energy, if you've got other tools, fill your boots, whatever you're intuitively guided to. So if you're an Akashic reader, bring in the Akashic, but you know, we give LightBringer tools in there too. But
absolutely,
for instance, if you've got like things like if you're an EFT practitioner, or for you, your sacred geometry, right? Like you can bring in the tool for the job that you feel like this will be a great tool for clearing this, and use that tool to clear the energy. But the bit that makes the difference is the tracking of it, so that we're not working on a surface level, we're working deep. And usually what happens is when we go deep, we pull it out by the root. And that means that our clients don't get bothered with that energy again, which I think is huge.
Right. Absolutely. That's made a whole profound difference in a lot of my clients. And what's really funny is some of my practice clients that you had given me for certification were actually people that already have their business. They're already well into their own spiritual business. And I didn't realize some of them had said, this has been, my business is great, everything's great, but this particular issue that I was working on was the only thing that was like the thorn in my side, and I couldn't progress in my business, and you helped me clear that. And I guess it gives me more confidence that I can help anybody if so. But
this is it. I mean, these tools are amazing because they are so universal and you can use them in so many different places. Not only have you used them to help you heal your life and really shift tracks and shift and move into more opportunities in your life and things like that, and manifest things that you really were in need of and things that you really needed, but also as well, you've been able to have a profound effect on other people as well. So the next steps for you, Danielle, what are you unfolding as your next steps for setting up this coaching business, for you to have, like, you're still in your job, but you're still wanting to set up a coaching business and to help other people, and it's a new stream of income, which is like really, really cool. And in that you're going to be able to offer one-to-one sessions and things. So is there any areas that you're particularly interested in specializing in, or are you just at the moment happy to work with people who just come at me with your problems?
I think LightBringer is actually my favorite because you can switch and do different things depending on what it is they need and what level they're at. And then it's kind of like peeling an onion. Well, we're going to work on this, but it actually expands into this, and we can do another session and do this. But there's so many tools with the LightBringer, and I love LightBringer, is my favorite. I'm in the position right now where I was starting to shop web designers so I could do a small website. Then I've turned to some of our Joanna Hunter tribe to help me with that. And I was in the process of doing that. I ended up with COVID. So now I'm kind of had to back up gears. But right now I'm doing the LightBringer sessions and my sacred geometry sessions and the Akashic Records sessions like 3 to 5 times a week. But I am morphing that into my own online business once I get the website set up. So
Fantastic. I love it. What would you say to anyone who was like, let's do this in parts, right? So what would you say to anyone that was like 6 years ago, you 6 years ago, where you were really like, you know, but you were feeling like, obviously you must have been feeling something was off in life as well, right? Because you had been pushing down those empath abilities and stuff. And obviously when you get accosted in a supermarket by a psychic, not me, of course, but by a psychic, you know, you're kind of like, oh my God, what would you say to someone who's maybe just at the very beginning of their journey, of beginning to take a spiritual journey? What would your kind of advice for someone like that be?
Allow it to unfold. Follow your gut instinct, your intuition. And if it's like, I'm being drawn here, follow that lead of being drawn somewhere. Like I said, I was drawn to your universe. Then all of a sudden, oh, well, that makes sense. And the pieces start falling together, and it starts falling together, and your path starts to unfold in front of you. Sometimes you only know 1 step or 2 steps, but follow what you feel. I've been taught all my life, don't follow what you feel. It is this way. And it was more doing. I'm learning now to be, but it's also to following, what do you feel? This is the right direction, and puts the pieces together, and allow divine timing, allow, you know, that influence to come in, and it will lead you where you need to be, and your happiness can grow exponentially when you figure out what your purpose is, where you need to be in life, and it will unfold. Every piece, every class that you offer so much for people. You offer the free classes, you offer other classes that are like a middle range, and then you offer higher end classes. There's some place for everyone to get in to whatever leads them. But follow what your heart says. Like you had said something about desire, like follow it from a place of desire. You're not looking for everyone to get into every class, but there's something for everyone, and follow your niche, and it will take you where you need to go. This is step 1. Okay, that was great. I'm practicing the tools from this. Where else is this going to lead me? So.
Yeah, I think that's it. It builds, isn't it? Because I think some people, you know, they ride into our world and they think, oh my goodness, like, wow, this is a lot. But we're offering a lifelong journey here, tools for life, you know. And I think the process of me and you working together has been a beautiful, really organic process. It was like you've been like a little magpie. You've been like, oh, I'll have this class, and then you've been working with the tools of that, and then it's like that desire comes again, and it's like, okay, let's go here because I feel called here. And it's just been this like gorgeous path of unfoldment, and just been unfolding little piece by little piece by little piece, and applying. And it's been unfolding and applying to your life.
Absolutely.
Your life has been elevating. You mentioned my beautiful tribe, all the people in my world. That has been massive for you, hasn't it? Because you've met so many amazing friends.
Yes.
I call them weird friends, because like when you first start going on a spiritual journey, you can feel like you can feel like you're going crazy, but then if everybody around you does not get the spiritual stuff, it's kind of weird. And you know, and then you feel even more alienated. And the nice thing with our communities are they're filled with people who get it.
Absolutely. They're woo-woo. They're my woo-woo friends because they get it, and we get people on a deeper level. And you can call it, hey, I had this dream, or I had this, and I can schedule a Zoom call with most of them, or hey, I need a practice session. It's been a while, whether it's Akashic Records, LightBringer, whatever, and they're all right there for you. They celebrate you and all your wins, all your, gosh, I'm struggling with this. They're right there with you, and they're phenomenal, amazing people. And everybody's on their own journey, but we're all filling in the gaps for each other. There's so many Hunter Tribe people that I just adore, and I can't wait to meet some of them. But it's just you're developing lifelong friendships with a lot of these people. An interesting thing was I hadn't been close to my younger sister in like a decade. So we had a falling out years ago, and all of a sudden we had started spending a little more time together, especially because I was up in Oregon. But just before that, like the year before that, she says, do you believe in psychic children? And she was talking about her daughter is born with her gifts all switched on, and the girl was like close to, like, my niece was close to like suicide. We didn't quite know. And my sister and I bonded over that. And that's right around the same time we found your world. And so I was able to help her as well. And we're kind of, my sister and I just were able to create a space for her daughter to it's okay. This is normal. And we don't know what the answers are. We're going to find them for you, and to help her evolve so that she can learn to control some of those gifts too. So, and that's been a very profound experience.
It's a very, very scary place, isn't it? To have your gifts switched on and then not being able to quite interface with the world because your gifts are switched on. And it is so beautiful when you've got such a safe space like our world, where you can come in and people get it, people understand, and there's tools to help you, right? There's tools to help you navigate muggle life when you are totally spiritual and that you have got those spiritual gifts switched on. I'm so glad that, you know, that you coming into my world didn't just have an effect on you, but it's had an effect on your sister, on your son and your sister's daughter as well. It's been a kind of family affair of shifts and changes that have happened. It's really amazing. Tell people how they can book you. What can they do with you? They can have an Akashic record healing session. They can have a LightBringer coaching and healing session. You offer sessions where you're using all your tools and things like that. If they were to kind of go and looking for you on the interwebs, what's the best place?
Right now, I'm in the process of getting a website set up. Right now, I'm using my sister's page on Facebook called The Wandering Butterfly. And we've been offering sessions on that page, or in some of the things that she offers as well. But mostly that's where I will be offering my sessions. It's a Calendly link. So if you go to The Wandering Butterfly, you'll find my Calendly link.
We'll make sure we'll pop the link below so that you can get people. Oh my goodness, what a journey, Danielle, what a journey. I'm so excited to see what's going to unfold. That's been just under 2 years. So what's going to unfold in the next 2 years? I mean, it's really quite exciting, isn't it, to think how far you've come in that time.
Absolutely.
And the lovely thing is, with a lot of our courses, they're lifetime access, so you can keep going in there and doing them again and again, which is what's always really fun.
And you learn something new each time, so it's not like the same.
Yes, yeah, they're like you just get what you need from them, don't you? I mean, I love teaching them because every time I teach them, I learn something new myself. I'm always expanding through the work too, which is beautiful. Thank you so much for coming to join us today on our podcast. And as I say, we will put all Danielle's links down below, and make sure you click on them and go and check out her work. Go and say hi to her on social media. The Wandering Butterfly is the Facebook page, and we'll pop links to her website when it's up and running as well. So thank you so much, Danielle.